Trev and Phil back with you on Sports Center. MVP race got a little wider Thursday. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander reached the 65-game threshold as the Thunder dominated the Lakers. He's minus 500. Wemby suited up for 62 games, including the NBA Cup final. He needs to play 3 more to be eligible for end-of-season awards. DNP for the Spurs against the Clippers. Back-to-back 41-point games. You understand the ability to rest him. Plus, they're 10-5 without him this season. De'Aaron Fox, the wily veteran on this team at 28. What does the Fox say? 600 games played in the regular season, just 7 in the playoffs. I imagine he's going to get more this year. Spurs up 8 after 1, second quarter. Similar margin, Fox way ahead. He had 18 points at recess. Spurs up 24. And Fox, man, just handing out lollipops and butt whoopings. How long did you look at that? All out of lollipops. 24-point margin becomes 26. Fox, 22 points through 29 minutes with a couple minutes left to play in Inglewood. As a wise man says, mid-range shot attempts not cost prohibitive. Spurs in line for an 11 straight win. From Inglewood.
Nice. Do we have any predictions on where this is at before I give the results?
I think it's Wemby Shai, just like the odds, but I'm curious to hear.
So to be clear, you think Shai first and Victor second, just because of how you said it.
Yeah. Wemby,
so this ballot so far has been my ballot, and I went with Shai first and Victor second, and it seems like I might be existing in the majority here. So I'm going to go that route. The question I have is really at the end of this, no matter which order it's in, because when you make your final assessment, your final assessments here are almost as important as the poll itself, because in the past you've said, listen, this guy's in first, but I think this guy can catch him, and that's happened. Mm-hmm. In the other past, you've gotten to the end of these polls and said, I feel good about where this is, and this is where it's going to finish. And other times you've said, no, I think there's a little liquidity here. So what I'm interested in is, obviously who's 1-2, but how close it is and whether or not this is definitive enough that Bontemps can make a projection here, or Bontemps is going to refrain from making a projection.
Will Bontemps call the race?
It's a spicy. It's a spicy result. So I'm gonna list it off. So in second place, both guys. Obviously, we know the 2 guys who are left. Both guys were on every ballot. So in second place with 1 fifth place vote, 9 fourth place votes, 19 third place votes, 63 second place votes, and 8 first place votes.
Only 8. That surprises me. Victor Wembanyama with 644 total points. So in first place with 88 first place votes, 9 second place votes, 88.
and 3 third place votes, and 100 total ballots, 958 total points, is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Now I'm surprised, and I gave Shai my first place vote. So
a couple things.
I'm surprised it's that lopsided.
People are going to immediately freak out about 88-8, and they're going to go, how could it possibly be 88-8? I'm going to say the same thing that I've said over and over again about this in the past. When this is a binary choice, which means you pick one person or the other person, it doesn't matter if you think it's 60-40 for one guy.
Right.
If you think it's 60-40 for one guy and the majority think it's 60-40 for one guy, the voting's not going to be 60-40. It's going to be like 80-20, which is about where this is. Because if in a binary choice, it's not like a ranked choice scale where you can get percentage points for being close. It doesn't work that way. You either are first or you're second. You win or you lose. And
you're first or you're last.
Well, and in this case,
for some fans, that's the way they look at it.
Well, trust me, for all fans, they look at it this way. I think a couple things have worked in Shai's favor on this. If you go back to the game against Denver, right, which is now 3 weeks ago, when he had those 2 shots on national TV to win that game. When did that happen? Right before the NCAA tournament, right? So,
then he followed that up by, he didn't make the winning shot, but dominating down the stretch against the Celtics on the night that he broke Wilt's record.
He's been great since then. But my point is, one of the last enduring memories of the season is Shai having those moments against the Nuggets in that game on national TV, right? Mm-hmm. So that, I think, carries some weight. The other thing is, for as great as the Spurs have played, and they've been unbelievable for 2 months, like we've talked about, the Thunder have stayed ahead of them and keep winning all these games. And I think because of that, like we've talked since the last poll came out, since the All-Star break, since the trade deadline, we kept saying if Victor can catch up, he's going to have a shot to win. Now, if you go back to the last poll, Victor had 3 first-place votes, 3 second-place votes, 19 third place, 23 fourth place, 27 fifth place. He was on 75 ballots. He was behind Cade Cunningham, and he was in 4th, right? So to go from there to a very clear second, past Jokic, and be like within a shout of Shea is a lot of movement. But he was starting from pretty far behind. He has to catch up. And for all the winning they've done, again, the Thunder have just racked up all these wins. And by the way, even on Monday night, Victor has 41-16 or whatever he had against the Bulls, stomps them like he's stomping everybody with the Spurs right now. And Shea has 47 on national TV. It's all these crazy shots in the fourth quarter, leads them from a come from behind win to beat Detroit at the end, right? So I wouldn't look at this and say, I think Victor has done everything possible to win the award this year. But Shea started out in front. He's led the last 5 polls in a row. And I think on a lot of these things, ultimately, you have to knock out the champ to win. And I do think there's a world where between now and next Sunday, because the Thunder have a pretty difficult schedule and the Spurs don't really, that the Spurs managed to catch OKC for the top record in the West. And I do think if they do that, there's a chance this breaks some Victor's way at the end. But I think especially if things stay the way they are now and the Thunder have the top seed in the West, I think this is the ballot.
Let me throw a scenario at you. Let's just, and this is a hypothetical that the first part of this scenario people will know the answer to by the time this airs. But let's say hypothetically that the Lakers win what's kind of a home and home series here with the Thunder. They sweep it, and that Luka puts up like 40-point triple doubles in both games. Does that help? Can that vault him to the top? Or does that just help Wemby's case?
Yeah, Luka can't win, and I don't think Jokic can win. To me, I think there's a very limited, narrow window where Victor can win. But I think it's that window. I think if the Thunder lose, like the Thunder's remaining schedule, obviously we're doing this before this game tonight at home against the Lakers, but they've got the Lakers twice, they've got the Clippers, they've got Denver, and they've got Phoenix. All games that the teams are going to be trying to win. Like, that's not an easy run-in to finish out the season. San Antonio, meanwhile, their closing schedule, they've got the Clippers today, they've got Denver on the road on Saturday, huge game. They've got Denver in the final game of the season. They've got the Sixers on Monday, and then they've got Dallas and Portland, 2 games they should pretty comfortably win. So, if San Antonio can catch OKC and they end the season, like let's say they win those games, they end the season going like 32-2 in their final 34 games.
They've won 27 of the last 28 Wemby's played in as we speak.
Exactly. So,
by the way, the Thunder I think have only lost 1 Shea game in about 2 months.
Yeah, that's. I mean, the reason they're ahead of the Spurs, since if they win tonight, I believe they'll be 26-2 since the start of February. That is insane. The only reason they're not in first place in the West is because the Thunder have gone something akin to 26-2 over the last 2 months, and they've lost a couple more games, but that's why they're still ahead. If they weren't superhuman, the Spurs would be in first place, and Victor would, I think, be winning the poll and would be winning the award. So I don't see any scenario. I mean, again, if we want to go back to the Luka trade happens, so therefore you have to leave the door open at everything theory. Sure. I guess if Luka goes for 60 in both games and they win, you could maybe try to draw some scenario up. But I think that would just open the door for Victor.
We're talking about one of the most consistent players we've ever seen. The gentleman is averaged 30 and 50% shooting 4 years in a row. He's got the longest streak of 20-point games in the history of the sport.
Yeah.
Like, as long as you're making projections, like,
Right.
I don't think Luka's going to score 70 and Shea's going to score 5.
Yeah,
No,
Shea's
exactly.
not going to have stinkers, I think is safe
and
to
I
say.
just don't.
What's his stinker? His stinker is 22.
Yeah,
Yes.
I just don't see a scenario where anybody other than Victor could beat Shea at the end. I don't think it's even close.
I think is definitely. I think that's probably
that's
gonna
take something Herculean.
Literally, in 5 minutes here, we're going to stop this podcast down because we have to stop for a minute because I have to go do a Sports Center hit.
Oh, big
I'm going to
deal.
tell you on this. Well, I'm just going to tell you on this Sports Center hit, and like these are. I'm going to tell you what the main question is. Guys can be my little prep here.
Oh, thanks. What an honor. We'll get those fingers firing.
Thank you.
It's my usual role.
They like this is with Hannah Storm, and Hannah like writes her own questions, and Hannah knows what she's talking about.
Sure,
she
legend
doesn't. She is not going to. She still thinks Luka can win it. Like, I'm not going to talk about the poll, obviously, but like part of what the Sports Center producers who operate in this world in their job, they all think Luka is still alive in this.
I'll be honest with you, I kind of did too before I heard these numbers.
Yeah, so I'm saying when this comes out, there's going to be the Wemby factor is going to be significant because Wemby's not going to be happy about this. He refreshed his opinion on Scott Van Pelt last night.
Yes, he did. No, he's not.
After he had, by the way, Victor's last 2 games, he did a double-double in 8.5 minutes against the Bulls. I know it's the Bulls, but he did it in 8.5 minutes. And I know the Warriors played a joke team, but he went for 20 and 10 in 12 minutes.
I mean, and listen, people are minutes policing Wemby now, reverse minutes policing him. He was on a minutes restriction for a while, right? Coming back from injury. That's part of the reason his minutes are so low. While they've won 27 of 28, he's still averaging 29 minutes per game. That's not because of a minutes restriction. That's because they're blowing everybody out of the water.
No, that is true. However, I do think the biggest knock on Victor's candidacy is the minutes. Like, I do think if you're trying to split hairs between he and which, again, this is all splitting hairs. These guys are unbelievable. They're all having unbelievable seasons. But Victor has played 1,784 minutes so far going into tonight in 61 games and 52 starts. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, playing for the Thunder this year, has played, I think, I'm going to double check right now. I got it right here. He has played 2,147 minutes. So he's played 400 more minutes. It's almost 10 more games in minutes than Victor has played. How many minutes has
Victor played again? 17?
1780 something. And Shai in 64 games has played 2,147 minutes.
Right. So LeBron has played 1850 and he's not eligible. Not that I think he would get any votes. I'm just saying.
We don't need to get into an eligibility discussion, but I'm just saying if you're talking about value at the end of the day, like the fact that Shai has been available for 20%, 25% more minutes, if you're trying to divvy this up, like that matters. Like, it matters if you can play more and be available more.
And I'm sorry to jump in front of you, McMahon.
No,
maybe my memory is flawed. I don't remember minutes ever. I remember we almost ended our associations with each other a few years ago over games played.
Which, by the way, there's a 3-game difference right now.
Okay.
Well, it's a unique case.
But I never remember ever talking about minutes. But I'm not saying you're wrong. I do think
it's something that was whispered in my ears in Bricktown. You know, I'm over there at the Goats.
It's a unique case because of
about these low minutes.
Well, it's a unique case because of Victor's season and because of the. I mean, let's be honest. Like, part of the reason Victor was playing 21 minutes in those games is because the Spurs and Victor were very cognizant of the 65-game rule.
I think the inverse order. I think Victor.
Well, sure. But regardless, they were making sure Victor was eligible for these games. And like, I think both Victor and Nikola Jokic, as we've talked about, are prime examples of why that rule, at least in the NBA's eyes, I would argue, has worked because those guys are both going to play, barring injury, they're going to play over 65 games. And I think they both would not have had the rule not existed.
Now, again, the scoreboard is a pretty good indication of value as well. Like that, they do keep score at every game. It's important.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Shai leads the league in plus minus at plus 685 in those 2,147 minutes. In those wee little 1,784 minutes, Victor Wembanyama ranks second at plus 661.
Sure.
So a whole bunch of minutes difference and 24 points in terms of plus minus.
Which is I've started to talk about on my TV stuff in the last week. What happens when they do boost Victor's minutes to 35, 37?
But again, when they need to now, they do.
I know, but I'm saying, when you're trying to create a case for why Victor and the Spurs can win the whole thing, it's that this guy over the course of 3 or 4 playoff games might average 45 and 20.
Yeah.
And he might do that because when they boost his minutes, that's where his production might be.
But they're not boosting his minutes to boost him. They're boosting him because the games are close.
Well, and what you were, I think, going to say, you could argue the other way, where his energy tapers off some and he struggles some when he has to play more minutes.
Who knows by the time
we
you get to the
don't
conference
know.
finals? Right. So I actually went back and looked at the Olympics last night. Stats Williams did, because I wanted to see, because I couldn't remember what he did in the Olympics. In the Olympics, where it's all, for the last rounds at least, winner take all.
Yeah.
He was averaging 30 minutes. So 3/4 of the game. So that's roughly equivalent to not an actual minute load.
It's like 36 in an NBA game.
Yeah.
So, when it matters, I think that's what you're going to see. I think you're going to see him closer to 36.
For sure. When they played the Pistons in their competitive games, he played, I think it was like 36 and 39 in those games.
I can't remember where the games were, but as I was prepping for this, I went and looked, and there's been like 3 or 4 instances where there's been high value games where he's gone.
Correct.
I think as high as he's gone into the 40s in an overtime game.
Yeah, and again, all of this is to say, I think if you want to vote for any of these 4 guys, I think there's a credible argument to be made for all of them. It's not like there's somebody that doesn't deserve it, quote unquote, but it's not a matter of like who deserves to win. You give out one of the awards and you got to decide somehow. And that could be a tiebreaker for you. Your tiebreaker could be that Victor is the most dominant defensive player in the sport, and the gap between him and the second defensive guy is bigger than the gap between, Shea, whether Shea is the most dominant offensive guy or Jokic is, vice versa. The gap between them is probably smaller than the gap between Victor and whoever your second place defensive player is. So, there's a lot of different ways you can slice this argument up to make a decision. But
this
is where
I think no matter how this is going to come down, I was going to be fascinated by it, and I would say that's the case. I want to shift to Rookie of the Year, but first I'd like to just pause for a second while I go deal with Mrs. Storm and also Dave McMenamin. One is not like the other.
I wanted to give them their rating swings.